stopping by the obviously authentic channel. My name's Leah, that's spelled Lea and not Leah. And you are tapped into Oh Have Y'all Seen? This is part 4 of the crime scene at the Cecil Hotel. Thank you, Lord. I'm done with this documentary. As you can see, I ain't like this documentary, but we gonna talk about it because I'm the type of person, once I start something, I want to finish it, no matter how much I don't want to do it no more. So let's do it. So it opens up with the character that we saw last episode, part 3, which was Morbid, who is, we end up finding out his name is Pablo Vergara. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. You already know. But I found he seemed like an interesting dude. So one thing I thought was cool was when he was like, he finds beauty in darkness. And he said everybody has a shadow self and he embraces his monsters, but sometimes he takes it too far. And they showed a video of him where he almost was like cutting himself on his stomach. I said, yeah, you took that a little too far. I don't want to see no self-mutilation, sir. Keep that. I was about to say keep that to yourself, but no. If you out here self-harming, please tell somebody. Please say, you don't do that to yourself. Please don't do that to yourself. If you out here cutting, you drinking to go comatose, you doing drugs, go talk to a parent, a best friend. I guarantee you there are people out there that love you and appreciate you and want you to get some help. So don't be out there doing that. Please don't be out there doing that. I know a few people who I work with who did that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. But basically I felt bad for him. And this made me dislike the super sleuth people even more, and even the YouTubers even more, because he basically got cyberbullied and had an onslaught of people harassing him. Once everybody kind of felt like, yeah, he was the one who harmed Elise Lamb, they basically stalked and harassed the shit out this man. Like, they flagged his YouTube channel, so it got taken down. They got, somehow his Google account got deactivated, I guess, from people constantly saying, like, probably spamming Google with the stuff. And then he also got his Facebook deactivated. And I was like, that's horrible that people attacked him that much, that's what happened to him. Then on top of that, it got so bad for him that he tried to commit suicide, but luckily it didn't happen, and he ended up, like he said, he had a meltdown and he ended up in a psychiatric hospital, and they helped him get back, I guess, to some sense of normalcy, because he even stated in this part of the documentary that it's been 7 years and he hasn't spoken about it, which I find to be really like messed up, that all these people were attacking him. Because like, when this was happening, I don't even think I think I was either a sophomore or a freshman in college. And I don't even remember, like, I remember seeing the video of Elise, but I didn't know people were that, like, into, like, finding out what truly happened to her. And maybe it's because I took it from the point, I used to watch that show 48 and Missing, which is like a subgenre of the first 48. But like, basically they tell you if they can't find somebody in the first 48 hours, you normally lean towards it like that person either being, dead. So I was just like, the fact that like they couldn't find her, I just assumed that that's what happened to her. But I didn't know the particulars of the situation, like that she wasn't from America, she was from Canada, and that she was down here traveling by herself. But I think it's totally jacked up and messed up that people just like pinpointed all their frustration and aggression towards this man, to the point where, like, he even said at the end of the documentary that he doesn't even like creating music anymore because he can't fully express himself, because people just have that gray, like, there's a gray cloud over him. And I was like, that's horrible. Especially, like, I'm not a musician, like, can't sing. I can keep a harmony, though. I can keep a harmony. I can hum till the cows come home. But for people who music is like their self-expression or their outlet, for them not to have the ability to showcase that, I know that has to be torture. So I was like, dang, like I really felt bad for him. And when he said, when it came out, because and if you have been watching it, we know that unfortunately, like she was the cause of her own death. And they reported it, but he was like, nobody apologized to him. Nobody reached out to him. So it's like, y'all over here in his comments, in his DMs, y'all calling him a murderer. Y'all questioning him like, did you murder her? Who asked somebody that? You psychos? Bunch of weirdos. And then talking about they was going to get him. He probably was paranoid. Side note though, sir, his video of him, like, where he said he was paranoid, but he altered his voice and said he was innocent and he didn't do nothing. I said it was creepy. So it didn't really help. It kind of made it seem like you were taunting people. So it had the reverse effect, like, that he was trying to give. But it didn't help because the web people ended up finding out, like, where he was. And, like, I think he got kicked out of his home and everything. I was just like, y'all really, like, tortured this man. I guess my mindset is like, I'm not one for cyberbullying. I feel as though like it's not very beneficial. That's why I kind of have an awkward relationship with cancel culture. Because yes, I do think some people need to be cast aside and like go sit down for a couple of years and figure out what you did and then come back to us. But I don't like the whole notion of an onslaught of people just constantly coming at somebody. Like, the only person that I know who has been legitimately canceled is Chrisette Michelle, which I don't think is fair. Because, yes, we were all mad at her. I feel like we should have been mad at her, but I don't think she should have gotten them as much hate and as much blackballing as she has. Like, she has a beautiful voice, but nobody is giving her the time of the day because, I guess, as a collective, we decided to cancel her, which I think is jacked. But we move over to the toxicology report with the coroner. Basically, they checked everything. They checked to see if she was strangled, I guess shot. She didn't have any physical injuries to her body. They also checked to make sure she wasn't sexually assaulted, and she was clean on that part. But then when they did the toxicology report, they were like, nothing was out of the ordinary. So there was no like ecstasy or any like street drugs in her system. But they did notice that the medication that she was using, like for her disorder, for her bipolar disorder, the amount of it was really low in her system. So basically what they deduced from that was that like she stopped taking her medication. And as it continued, we ended up finding out that like she was having a really hard time with her diagnosis of being bipolar, which I can understand how like strenuous or how like taxing that could be mentally on yourself when it's like you want to feel normal, but you're not normal in a sense because your brain isn't working at the capacity in which you think it should work. And that's what she was struggling with. She didn't like having to take those 4 pills every morning. And like, it was just something, it was hard for her. And even the doctor, I think she was like a forensics doctor. She even said like, people with bipolar disorder, normally you need to take your meds and you need therapy in order to handle and like deal with the disease as itself. I also felt bad that she was comparing herself to other people. Like, they even, the voiceover was saying how, like, I guess something that she wrote on Tumblr, how she was like, too many of her counterparts are, like, moving. And I understand where she's coming from with that part. I think we, as a society, like, as the world as a whole, you do compare yourself to other people, especially when you find out how old people are. And it's like, oh, my gosh, like, this person is, like, 25 and they have their own house, they're like married, they seem so happy. Or this person is 40 and like they doing this and this. And like it messes with you, especially I think when it comes to people who the whole viral culture. I think so many people are trying to go viral in the sense to acquire such wealth based off of what they see on Instagram and on your phone. It's like it's constantly being thrown at you that you're either not one doing enough or what you're doing isn't enough. So it's like this constant battle that I think a lot of people are dealing with. Shoot, I be dealing with it. Like sometimes I just be like, am I really like, am I doing enough? And like at this age, shouldn't I be here? Or I think it's also the expectations that we put on ourselves. Like the age I am at now, I had a whole different like ball game of where I thought I would be at the age that I am now. And I'm not where I want to be. And I think I had to learn and tongue tied. I had to learn that's not how life works. Just because you have a plan does not mean that's how your life is going to go. And I think things would be a lot easier for others if we all kind of just realize that, like, yes, have a plan, but also there needs to be some like flexibility in your plan, because shit happens in life that you can't control. So things like that. But she basically took the trip to LA because she wanted to feel normal. And I think it was to help also boost her her confidence. Unfortunately, like I said, she stopped taking her meds. And then this is when they started to show like the different episodes she was having. So one, she started writing these like messages. And if you know someone who is bipolar, they have very super, super highs, which that means you're like very manic, where someone can be like gun-ho, ready to do everything, very takerish. I don't even think that's a word, being a risk taker. And then they can be very low, like very depressed. And I guess she was going through a manic episode because she decided to go to this bar. There was a live showing, and she just started writing this letter. And basically in the letter, she told the hostess, like, demand the hostess give this to the person who orchestrated the event. And I guess it made the people working there feel uncomfortable, so they like escorted her off the premises. Then I remember, if you remember episode 1 and 2, they talked about how she got switched to a different room because she was staying in like the communal, like hostel type rooms, like where the bunk beds and stuff, but she was making the other women that were in there uncomfortable. And they finally said what she was doing. Basically, she was like writing notes on, I guess, on notepads or like a piece of paper, putting it on the other ladies' beds, talking about go away, go home, get out. And then she was also like not letting them in. So like they would be knocking on the door, I guess, to get in, like say if someone forgot their key or but she wouldn't let them in. Like she was like they needed to have a password, or she would like she basically was locking them out their room. So, and then the creepy manager lady said that she came downstairs one day and like proclaimed that she was crazy, but LA is crazy too. And like she stood in the middle of the lobby and shouted it. But like they didn't do nothing because like the creepy lady said, it's the Cecil. Like, I mean, although I think that lady's creepy, but like I got what she was saying when she was like, weird stuff happens all the time. It's the Cecil. Like she was like, we could call the police, but sometimes they don't even come because it is the Cecil. So I'm like, and I get what she was saying. She was like, I don't even know if they would have came, and she wasn't really doing much. She just yelled and it was fine. So that happened. And then they started to discuss her being in the tank. So the coroner said basically when someone drowns, it's normally their body is flipped over. But because she was in the tank and the water fluctuated every time somebody would use it, and you think about how big the Cecil Hotel is, everybody's probably like washing their hands, washing their hair, brushing their teeth, or taking a shower, a bath, or whatever. So the water is being constantly used. So they basically were saying that the only way to get out of the water tank was to go through the hatch that was open. but you could only get through there, I guess, if the water pushed you up there. Well, because the water was fluctuating left and right, they think that's why her body flipped over. They also stated that because she was naked, it probably came because she might have had hypothermia, or she was trying to float or tread water so she wouldn't sink. But they were like, when someone has hypothermia, they normally take off their clothes because their body is fluctuating through different temperatures. And then they were saying if she was trying to float, she probably took off her clothes to like make it easier for her to float, because you get tired of treading water after a while. But June 2013, the official reports came out that she died of an accidental drowning, but the web sleuths didn't believe it. And this is when I started to get annoyed, because I'm like, how do y'all know? Like, legit. Like, I don't get me wrong, I love a good conspiracy theory, like especially when it comes to like cartoons, like how if you ever heard of like the Pokemon theory, conspiracy theory about how Ash is like in a coma. That's why no one ever knows about his like triumphs with all the different movies, and that's why he's always young and things like that nature. Or how Ed and Eddie is about purgatory, because all the kids are like from different eras when they passed away. So I like those types of, so like I get that, but I was like, it annoyed me that like y'all feel like y'all know more than the people who are actually doing the work. And granted, there have been times, don't get me wrong, there have been a lot of times where like the police dropped the ball. Like, we know that. But in this case, I'm like, none of y'all weren't there. Y'all were just being weirdos and like trying to come up with something to make it make sense. So it was annoying. I was annoying. I was annoyed. I was annoyed. We talked about, let me look at this. We talked about the body. We talked about, and basically they said like they end up speaking to her sister, and her sister says she was prone to having these episodes. So I guess she always tried to like wean herself off of her medication, which if you're on medication, go to the doctor if you're trying to wean yourself. You can like, she probably should have went to the doctor to help her slowly get off of it, but she didn't. And unfortunately, like they were like, when she would have, her sister said when she would have these episodes, she basically would think somebody was trying to like hurt her. So she would be very afraid. And they were just like, the police and the investigators basically assumed that like she hid in the water tank to like hide, which kind of makes sense because they also reenacted like what it would be like to carry a body like up the fire escape and then put the body inside the water tank. And they tried it from two different locations where the pole, like if you remember on the picture, they had poles of like the water tanks being connected. They were like, if someone came from the adjacent part of the roof, you would have to like tightrope walk across the water tower with a body over your shoulder, like fireman style or a caveman style. And that without bruise, like you could do it, but the coroner said her body would have been bruised. Same thing with her going with someone carrying her up the fire escape. They were like, her body would have got bruised from you carrying her up and down and having to like throw her over and things of that nature, and none of that showed. So that's why they came up with the idea that like maybe she actually got scared and hid in the water tank. They were then like, I guess what really pissed off the super sleuths or the web sleuths was that they couldn't understand like, how did the hatch get open? Who put her in the hatch? Just locked the hatch. Well, they found out from like reviewing her autopsy or like the police records that the police officer who did the first the interview saying that it's from my understanding that the latch was closed was actually wrong, that the latch was open. When the when the maintenance man came to look at it, he said no, the latch was open. So she got in there herself, unfortunately, and she was scared. Like And it makes sense, like, why she was acting funny in the elevator is because she felt like somebody was coming for her. And like when someone's having a psychotic episode, we don't see what they see. Like, and like one of the doctors says, fantasy and reality starts to merge together, and like it's just a microcosm of just a lot. So the Cecil Hotel got shut down in 2017. A guy from New York purchased it, or I don't even know if it's a guy. Someone from New York purchased it for $80 million, which I was like, yeah. And they're going to, basically, they're trying to, like, I guess, gut it and, like, renovate it. So, like, they're going to do the same concept with one side being a luxury hotel, the other side being low-income housing. And then they were also going to put a bar up at the top of the roof and put a pool there as well. I wouldn't have bought that place. I agree with the morbid dude when he was like, the Cecil Hotel is a portal to hell. And I said, yeah. He was like, no matter what has happened, he was like, something bad has always happened. And he was like, maybe I got cursed, but just in a different way. Like something bad happened to me, but it's this way. So I was like, dang. But yeah, basically, I didn't like this. I think what really made me look this whole thing was that like the investigate, like the web people made me uncomfortable. What was the point of you being that involved? Even that dude who was like the dental student, to go to the extent of actually having someone who lived in Canada go to her grave and videotape themselves, like you watching them through like FaceTime of them touching her grave, that gave you closure, is weird to me. Also, the other guy who's the YouTuber, where he was like, he went to the hearing because the family tried to sue the Cecil for like wrongful death, because they felt like there should have been more things in place for protecting their daughter, which is understandable. But they end up losing because she went out the fire escape. She didn't go out. If she would have went out the main door, like the creepy manager said, the buzzer would have went off. But they can't like lock up the fire escape, is because of how big the Cecil is. If a fire popped off, everybody has to have access to get out the building. So you can't really do nothing. That is like safety. And then also I guess they now have made like a lot of like, you have to latch your water tanks and things of that nature. But yeah, y'all, it's unfortunate that she passed away. It's also sad that like if they would have went to the water tank the first time, they probably would have found her. It's not to say that she would have been alive, depending on how long she was in the water tank, because eventually you're going to get tired of treading water. But yeah, that's it, y'all. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. Definitely comment, because I want to know you guys' thoughts. And also give me other documentaries you think I'd be interested in looking at. But that's it, y'all. Remember to be bravely authentic, and I'm out. Deuces.